buying data is good, but you have to buy good quality data. And this is something that can be either very, very expensive or challenging to find the right company. And most of our customers are not on LinkedIn, but like I'm Kira. Hey, Laura. How is your day today?
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. There is so much talk about marketing automation, but is marketing automation about automating the entire marketing so you don't have to hire anyone in the marketing department? Or is it about predicting and creating engagements through content at every step of the way as buyers move through the funnel? How much investment does marketing automation require? Are there any best practices on what to automate and what could be overkill? How important is technology to achieve marketing automation goals? And how important is tracking? Are any specific KPIs that matter? Are there any industry-specific KPIs that might be relevant? In today's episode, we invited a panel of cross-functional experts for a live interview on LinkedIn who brings significant expertise to discuss marketing automation strategies for e-commerce. We covered many grounds in this episode, including what marketing automation is and why it matters. Finally, we covered several stories related to the best practices of marketing automation and KPIs relevant for marketing automation. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. So we are going to dig right into the topic. We are going to talk about all the best practices, the secret sauce of how to deliver on marketing automation. But before that, we are going to start with everybody's introductions. So we are going to start with you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Sam. So I am Chris Harrington. I am the president and COO of Gen Alpha Technologies, and we equip manufacturers and distributors with the e-commerce solution they need to sell their products, specifically new and used equipment and aftermarket components online. So that's what we do. Happy to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. Steve, can I move to you next for your introduction, if you don't mind?
Thank you, Sam, and thank you for having me on here, and good to see everybody here today. My name is Steve Rice. I'm the founder of .com Jungle and the Globally Conscious Leader. With .com Jungle, we help companies, CPG companies and manufacturers make and implement wise technology choices, which often has to do with building websites and integrating systems. And then with the Globally Conscious Leader, we're hoping to bring sustainability experts to leaders and help them make the change to being more green, or as what we often say, less brown.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Steve. Eric, can I move to you next for your introduction?
Yes, thanks, Sam. I'm Eric Landman. I'm e-commerce division manager of Earthly Interactive. We're an agency that builds websites and web apps for quite a variety of different markets. And my personal expertise is I'm a project manager and e-commerce architect, and mostly working in Magento and a little bit with Shopify and BigCommerce.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Eric. Dave, can I move to you next for your intro?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own a company called the Chrysler Club, where we work with business owners to help them create the systems they need to stop working in their business so it can grow. And I spent more than 20 years in the manufacturing space, responsible for both operations and marketing. So excited to get into this conversation today. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Kira, can I move to you next? You are joining for the first time. Welcome to the panel.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I am myself a marketing consultant, so a consultant on strategic marketing, but I have a gig which I am proud of, That means we implement business technologies that help businesses sell and service online. And I know the word digital transformation has been frightening, so we do that in affordable and fast way. And specifically, we implement Microsoft Dynamics and Zoho technologies.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Kira. All right, so we are going to start in setting the stage. So obviously, there's a lot of misunderstanding, in my opinion, especially when we talk to manufacturers, what marketing automation really is. Some people think that, when you talk about email marketing, that could be perceived as marketing automation. There are a lot of different conversation. Also, there is myth around where marketing automation is going to be fit, whether that is going to be really good for your business or not. So, Chris, I am actually going to start with you in setting the stage. And now you can set the stage in the form of a story, which is what I appreciate. You know me. If you have a story related to marketing automation, if you could pick an example of where you have implemented or seen or experienced marketing automation, that will be amazing in setting the stage what marketing automation is and where it should be used and where it should not be used.
Yeah, I think the best way I would describe marketing automation, and I'll go into a story, is really giving time back to your organization. So it's automating processes on the sales and marketing side that give time back. And I know personally for our own business, this was something we had to identify for our own sales team because we don't have a very large sales force. Anything we could do to supplement and help them on the marketing automation side to prevent them from having to engage too early in a process with a customer was very valuable. Where I have seen from a story perspective, customers utilize marketing automation is really when you think about a registration process. So immediately after somebody registers for your e-commerce site and now they are a new user, it's very easy to set up a marketing email automation process to help that new user understand the various features of your site that may not be naturally intuitive to them.
Yep.
I know even for our e-commerce platform, I consider it so much more than just a place for a transaction, right? And some of the neat little features that a customer would utilize and help save them a lot of time and be very useful are not things that they would naturally be thinking to look for unless they spend additional time on the site. So through an email marketing campaign after that user registers, you could drip them different information on those features of the site that you believe are useful or that your other customers have already found as useful. Things like, where did they find their tracking information after an order has shipped? Or where would they find the status of the order might not naturally be known to them, or they may not even be aware that they can do that. If you have a document section that is informative, that is not specific maybe to the products that you're selling, but some other space for information related to your services or the assembly or disassembly of products, by dripping to them how they would find that information could be very useful. So a story like user registration is one that we found to be incredibly helpful to ensure that customers are using more of the features that these companies have built into their site.
Yeah, and I actually love that aspect, to be honest. I mean, if I think from the manufacturing perspective, and some of the manufacturers might be wondering how I can connect the dots and how I can replicate the similar experience as you are able to do it for your business. So one of the stories that I would like to recommend from my perspective is, in case of manufacturers, number one thing, even though you are not going to know who this specific user is, or in case of registration, at least you know who this person is. So you have some details about them. And based on that, you can actually send them the product recommendation the way you were mentioning that, these are the products that we might have in our portfolio. Maybe you want to check them out just because you are new to the community. I am simply giving you a tour, no pushing, no selling as such, but it's a very gentle way of making them familiar with, how to explore around the site. So I love that story. Steve, I'm actually going to move to you. What is marketing automation in your opinion? Do you have any specific stories where you have seen the real impact because of marketing automation?
Definitely. I think marketing automation, simple definition is it's automating repetitive tasks such as like email marketing, ad campaigns, tracking, live chat, service communications, any of those things. And the challenge is to depersonalize these systems so that you can actually manage them and repersonalize the communications, right? As far as a sample, I think I think we're all working with every client we have is using it, even if they don't think they are. You order something from the website and you get an email saying, congratulations, you ordered this. That is one facet of automated marketing. So manufacturers, I think, have a challenge, and it's this. We forget that there are sales teams and there are marketing teams, and that they don't necessarily have to work separately. And many manufacturers build businesses based on like $200 million businesses and never really have a marketing team. So the sales team, and there are marketing automations for sales teams. They just happen to work a little different. And there are marketing automations for marketing teams that work more towards direct to consumer, but could also be effective for B2B sales teams as well. So examples of where it's used are simply ones where maybe somebody buys a sander and 6 months later they get an email that says, hey, you bought a sander 6 months ago. The belts generally last 6 months. Do you need another pair? That's a simple example.
Okay, so I am actually going to have a clarifying question for you because you
Great.
actually mentioned a very interesting point there. That is going to be the sales teams have their own way of marketing automation. And there is a term called sales enablement tool. The sales enablement tools also have similar features as marketing automation. So let's say if I ask you, how would you draw the line between the sales enablement tools and the marketing automation tool, and how they should segment the responsibility between marketing and sales? How would you describe that?
That is a great question. And I accidentally prepared for that before this meeting. So a typical automation for a sales team might include something like a lead magnet online, like a downloadable or emailable informational PDF with corresponding permission to enter that recipient into an email campaign that feeds them additional information and also feeds them to an actual salesperson or a sales team who then follow up and contact. Whereas, and pieces of that are marketing, right? But a typical revenue generating automation model might include a lead magnet, might also include or only include a loss leading product along with immediate incentives for upselling or cross-selling in a direct to consumer environment. So you might use as a lead magnet some widget that maybe you're going to give somebody for free for $5, but then it costs $5 shipping, so you actually don't lose any money except for the shipping in that case. But in the end, after they say, yeah, I want that, you say, well, I see you like this widget. Would you like this t-shirt too? So that's all kind of marketing that's not really relevant to the sales team. So that's where I would draw the line is if you're actually trying to make the sale right away, you're presenting your product, you're presenting your brand image, you're trying to get people to purchase right away online, and the direct to consumer model is a good example, but there are some B2B models that fall into this category. But most manufacturers are going to separate it right along that line.
Okay, so basically I am not as unpredictable as I thought. You guys are able to guess my question. So thank you so much for that, Steve. Okay, Eric, I'm actually going to move to you next. What is marketing automation in your opinion? Do you agree with Chris and Steve so far? Any disagreements? Any stories that you might be able to share related to marketing automation where you have had real impact?
Sure. Well, you being unpredictable doesn't help us prepare, but I would say I can give you some examples of marketing automation, and there are some differences between consumer-based marketing automation and B2B-based marketing automation. I'm going to go right into the B2B because that's, to me, a little more interesting. A lot of our customers have quotation systems where they put products into a quote. It looks like a cart, but it's really a quote, and then they get a quotation on it, including shipping and possible discounts. That quote gets funneled to a regional sales manager, but really what happens is the quote request goes into a marketing automation system, and the couple that we've used are HubSpot or Salesforce Pardot or SharpSpring, something like that. And they go into a workflow, And the workflow might do a number of things. The simplest would be it funnels it off to a regional sales manager and also perhaps an individual salesperson. But also there's follow-up triggers that can happen that sends events internally. So not even interact with a customer, say 2 weeks later, an event could fire to the salesman from the marketing automation program saying, hey, did you follow up with this potential customer? So this is the sales enablement portion of things. So that's pretty different than the consumer end of things. Consumer end of things, you need to have somebody log in to either place an order, or maybe you can have an event fire based upon them creating an account and putting something in a cart. That's the pretty garden variety sort of things. Other things you can have, though, is if they did purchase something, we have a customer that uses a marketing automation event that fires when the warranty for whatever they happen to purchase is about to expire. So that's kind of a cool thing. You buy a toaster or something. Maybe that's a bad example. Refrigerator might be a better example. And you say, hey, your warranty is going to be up in 2 weeks. Would you consider buying this warranty product? So those are some examples of pretty interesting use cases. And some of them can be kind of intricate and a little bit tricky to set up, but the payoff is huge because these systems work. One of my customers got something like a 25% conversion rate on abandoned cart emails. It's like, whoa, that's crazy big. That was 25% of sales that they probably wouldn't have had because the customers went away. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are some very interesting examples and the stories that you mentioned. And in my opinion, I think, if you are consumerized, the marketing automation has far more value because you have a lot more customers to chase. You cannot really track them. You cannot really call them. In case of B2B, obviously, if your transaction volume is going to be lower, and if you have, let's say, tens and thousands of customers, then also marketing automation makes sense. But let's say if you have 70 customers, sometimes that could be trickier if the marketing automation is still going to have value. There are going to be scenarios in that case as well, depending upon how long the sales cycle is in terms of the follow-up. But great examples there. So Dave, I'm actually going to move to you. What are your thoughts so far? Do you agree with the definition that other panelists have provided so far? Any stories that you might be able to share?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, first off, definitely agree with what everybody's saying so far. I think, everybody's done a good job of giving a pretty clear definition. And, from my perspective, what I think about a couple of things here. Number one, about marketing automation really being kind of doing more with less, right? A lot of the manufacturing companies that I work with are running a pretty lean sales and marketing team typically. And so having the ability to implement systems to do more with less is, for sure something that is powerful in and of itself. And beyond that, I really feel like when it comes to deploying marketing automation, it's really about making sure you understand your customers' kind of buying journey. And I don't think that matters if we're talking direct to consumer or B2B, because throughout that journey, you can start to insert things. Steve, both you and Eric mentioned this, but, it's about when you understand that journey, then you can start to be more proactive and sending automated offers for the next product that makes sense in a particular, buying journey. And or Eric, to your point about, a warranty being expired, those are all points that if you really understand your customer's buying journey, that you can automate and therefore reduce your cost from a labor perspective on just doing additional outreach for people. It's a way, especially as your customer base expands, it's a way to do more with less, which is really the entire point of systemizing your business. So those are a couple of things that kind of stand out for me in things I like to concentrate on when we talk about this.
And I agree with you. The only difference between your spammy emails versus the real marketing automation is going to be the understanding of your customer journeys and understanding of your customers' needs. If you don't have the ICP figured out, or if you don't have the customer journeys figured out, then obviously your marketing automation is going to come across as very annoying, and that is something that you don't want to do. Thank you so much, Dave, for that. So, Kira, the expert, I'm actually going to move to you. So, tell us, what do you agree with the panelists so far in terms of the marketing automation? And I'm pretty sure you're going to have tons and tons of stories that you might be able to share in defining the value for marketing automation.
Yeah, what can I add? So, honestly, I love simplifying stuff. And I do work with manufacturers, and you guys are different from service businesses or technology businesses who have been online and e-commerce and digital the whole time. So simplification, I think, is the key to success. So as marketing's role in general is to bring qualified leads to the salespeople, marketing automation's role is to transition those hot, ready to buy leads to SDR teams, to sales teams. And anything required to achieve that would fall under marketing automation. And we named chatbots, and we named customer journeys on the website and on different marketing platforms, social media, email marketing. That's all included. And indeed, there are those sophisticated platforms like HubSpot, Active Campaigns, where you have everything all in one. So just press the button and you will have success. But what I want to say is that the solution, the marketing automation solution that brings leads, qualified leads to your sales team, needs to be a fit for purpose. If you are working just with a handful of clients, and I've worked with those clients before, they don't need anything except of the ERP, operational system. They don't need CRM. They don't need any marketing automation. They are good with Excel. They have 100 customers, so don't over sophisticate. If you are going into the digital world, you have to adopt digital marketing, which goes hand in hand with marketing automation. So to simplify again, I would pick the journeys, Tom, the customer journeys. So the two basic journeys you would build is acquisition journey, is how you acquire net new customers, and that would probably be through the website. And you would advertise on different channels. It can be display ads, it can be paid search, it can be just your website ranking in organic rankings for Google, and that can already be on one marketing automation platform if you have the money to do that. And then that will be definitely connected to the website where you capture customer details, and then your be it onboarding journey, upsell, cross-sell journey would begin, and that would mostly be through emails, I bet. Sometimes it can include calls and different notifications. There are those platforms that can tell you, like, now you need to send an email request, and now you need to go to their LinkedIn profile so that they see that you popped in and they remember you. So stuff like that. The second journey that is often becoming forgotten about is the retention and building up customer loyalty. I'm so happy we talked about this in this conversation already. And this is where you need to know your existing customers so that you are able to segment them according to different variables. It can be geography, it can be size of the business, it can be, job title, job role, anything that fits the specific customer clusters, customer persona. And that's where those examples of cross-sell, upsell, updates on warranty or something like that would kick into place. And additional important feature would be sending those newsletters or updates that are not sales oriented, so that your customers, your clients know that you care, that you understand them. And those newsletters or insights, whatever you call them, will be customized to those customer profiles, those clusters of customers. So that's what I'd say. Acquisition journeys, retention journeys, anything you need to do to make that happen, be it in a very expensive corporate-based marketing automation platform or just an intern sending batches of emails.
Yeah, amazing description there. By the way, I am a big fan of simplicity as well. And we have all seen the marketing messaging at times. They are going to be so well bloated. They are trying to sell a simple device, but they are going to start describing first mountain and then bridge, and I have no idea what you are trying to sell. Okay, get to the point fast. I know a little bit of creativity is great, the subtle creativity is great, but like, don't overcomplicate your messaging, don't overcomplicate your workflow. Love it. Love the segmentation, the way you mentioned that, okay, you are going to have two paths. One is going to be your acquisition, the other is going to be retention. In both cases, the goals are going to be different. So now we are going to move to the next question, and I am going to ask every one of you to keep your stories ready, because we are going to be covering a lot of stories in the next segment as well. Okay, so the stories that I am looking from each of you is going to be one case. And again, when I think of marketing automation is the double-edged sword. If you really think about it, if you do it well, you can create real money. Okay, if you don't do it well, it can really fire back. So what we are asking, and there are best practices in case of marketing automation. So two stories where marketing automation really worked. The second story is going to be the marketing automation where it really fired back. Okay. So Chris, I am going to start with you. Two stories, marketing automation where it really worked and where it fired back.
Okay. Where it really worked was with manufacturing companies who sell large equipment, and they wanted to onboard these equipment for how they would be supported after they own the asset. So they know the machine that they've sold to them, they know the contact information, and they now automate again a process of a drip campaign that informs them who their contacts are internally, how best to do business with them, what they should expect from them. So it's really developing that relationship after the customer has invested in this big and important asset to their production needs, and ensuring that they're building that customer relationship for the loyalty that others have mentioned here. Where it fired, we have had customers who have struggled with the abandoned cart process of integrating, where either they're discounting their products when it's not necessary, so they're automatically discounting through that the abandoned cart process, and either that's removing the value of that initial product, because in the space again that we serve, most often the customers really need that product at a specific period of time because the equipment is down. There's a real business need in this B2B setting to get that equipment back up and running. So it might not be necessary to be discounting in order to successfully convert on that. And that begins to create question and creates habits that would not be beneficial for, you don't want customers abandoning their cart because they think they're going to be incentivized later to place an order. That's the thing that's coming back to me right away. I mean, there are so many positive stories that it's truly hard to find the negatives, and maybe others are going to think of the negatives, but there are so many people that aren't using marketing automation and they're missing an opportunity. So the positive stories definitely, at least so far in my experience, outweigh the negative, and more manufacturers and other companies need to start utilizing these tools that are available for all the benefits that people have talked about. I really love doing more with less that David mentioned. That's so important with respect to the time element that both customers and manufacturers have in their world. So if you can speed up time, you can ensure a faster and more efficient process and educate along the way. It becomes really beautiful, and there's so much value both in revenue and that retention relationship. That's my
amazing stories there. Thank you so much, Chris. And one of the things that is going to be your favorite plug that we have not discussed so far is going to be, if you are doing marketing automation, obviously the execution is important, but what is more important is going to be studying your campaigns. As you are going to do more, you are going to get better at it. So obviously the second story that you mentioned, in that case, you really have to study, what's working and why it is working and why you are losing money for your discount. And sometimes that may not be necessary. So yeah, you got to A/B test probably and figure out if that is necessary or not. So I am going to rephrase our fighting back a bit. I am going to call it as overkill as opposed to the real fire back, because overkill in terms of the ROI, in terms of the kind of experience that you want to provide to your customers, could be very different from the real fire back. So yeah, so two stories. I'm actually going to move to Steve next. Steve, two stories. One in case where you really felt in your heart that no, this is a real case for marketing automation. And in second case, you felt bad that, you know what, this is probably too much.
Well, the cases, as Chris pointed out, and let me say, everybody on this panel has had a lot of really good things to say about marketing automation. Really appreciate it. Successes are easy to find, and like one simple one, we worked with a team, and live chat doesn't generally, people don't often think about that as a marketing automation, but it's another contact point for your customers. And we implemented that with a client who ended up seeing a 200% increase in revenue over 3 years. And because of live chat and because of the automated responses that they were saving to the system that they could all share, they actually did that 200% increase and then cut their phone team in half over that same amount of time. So they're basically doing 400% more service calls per person. And those other people didn't get fired. They just got to move to other places in the business where they were happy. Failures are things like, I'm a guy, I'm 6'3", and I go buy a puffy down jacket. It's not going to do any good. I saw somebody do this. Send somebody an email who bought a men's jacket and say, "Are you interested in this women's yoga type?" No, I'm not. Like, you don't even know if I'm married. You don't know if I have a girlfriend. Yeah. Maybe I even have a male friend, right? That they don't know who I'm sending it to. One of the other things that I saw that was an interesting failure was just sort of a slight failure of imagination. And it was with an organization that had a really good connection between their human sales team in the building and the dealers that are out in the world. Like, they all knew each other by first name. They probably went fishing together. And the head of the sales team thought that they would, when they were implementing a tool kind of like HubSpot, that they wanted to integrate a lot more of that personal information into the marketing automation tool. And so they sent out a really nice email saying, "We'd love to learn, have all this stuff in your system, in our system." And instead of talking to their technology team on the website and setting up some forms maybe, or some fields really on the back end for those dealers to fill in, they sent them a spreadsheet. And they asked every one of those dealers to fill out a spreadsheet that said, "My name's Bill Jones. My wife's name's Janice. I like fishing." It was a nightmare. And I saw that go out, and I called him. I said, "You're going to have a nightmare. Just wait." Because it was automation stuff with completely non-automated feedback loop, right? So that was just a complete failure to think about, well, what am I actually doing? Why am I asking them?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, please send me the spreadsheet and I'm going to write my credit card information so that you can transact on it. I'm really waiting for that, to be honest. Okay. Thank you so much, Steve.
We probably all saw that about 2001 or so, right?
Thank you so much. Okay, Eric, I'm actually going to move to you for your stories. One case where the marketing automation really worked. And obviously, you are going to have a lot more where you felt that it was overkill, because you are probably the recipient of those emails.
Well, I mentioned the one about abandoned carts, and that's pretty garden variety. However, we have a customer that sells furniture, and their markets are to school districts and libraries and architects. So big orders, tens of thousands of dollars typically. And they do everything through quotations, including some various level of discount, and assign these quotes to reps, and then the reps follow up. The marketing automation piece here is that these, once the quotes are approved, sent off, it's sent as a email and a PDF that's attached, and the PDF is designed so it can be incorporated into a proposal or a budget. Marketing automation, the second marketing automation piece is there are timelines on this. So the quote expires in 60 days, but they get the person who requested the quote gets a 10-day notice that it's going to expire, and they have an opportunity to talk to their sales rep. Maybe they want to extend it for a little bit more time. So that the reason that's good is that it keeps this prospect live, and it shows them there's some attention being given to them instead of, "Oh, here's your quote, see you later." Yeah, so that's a good one. Kind of a failure that I personally experienced was with outdoor products. I'm sure Steve has a lot of examples of that. But this particular one was I signed up for a new account with a retailer, and they said, "Would you like to sign up for our system that like an early adopter program? You get to hear about new products, maybe you get a discount." So I said, "Okay, I'll do that." Check the box and cool. I didn't realize what I actually was signing up for was an SMS system where I would be getting text messages like every 3 days from this company. And I tell you what, in short order, I unsubscribed because it was getting pretty damn annoying. I don't need their stuff that badly. So that was that was a little personal anecdote there. And you know, it could have been better if they just hadn't done this so frequently. You know, otherwise I would have said, well, it's okay. It's maybe every 2 weeks or something, or a month.
You seriously don't know what you need right now, Eric. You might need that, metal jacket right away. Otherwise, you might die because of cold. You really need that. Okay, we are sending. Thank you so much, Eric, for that. So, Dave, your stories. Okay, where you felt that marketing automation really worked versus fired back.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of said it's easy to find some of those success stories. I mean, one quick one is really on the prospecting process and the education of, prospects that are coming into the pipeline. And through some marketing automation, we're able to not only educate the prospects and really provide the value, but move them along in the journey so that when it became appropriate to connect with them, the conversations were at a much higher level, much more in depth, and it resulted in much more conversion. So I think that's an easy success to kind of call out there. And, in terms of kind of the failure side of things, I really look at it from the standpoint of missed opportunity. Because the failures that I see are either, the paralysis by analysis statement where you're trying to plan too much before you're actually going out and doing some execution. And I know, there's going to be another conversation about the metrics and what we can learn from our testing. But that's an important element to this. And so I've seen the failure from the standpoint of not wanting to implement because we're trying to figure out too much. And the other part is, again, back to not understanding who your buyer is, the journey that they're on, where they need to be educated, where you need to deliver value from the standpoint of, Chris, I think you mentioned it, early on in this conversation, but understanding how you can help them by providing value, whether that is, here are some additional features and benefits. Here is how you access XYZ information. When you miss that boat, you're really missing the opportunity to connect and build a really quality relationship with your customer. And that's what we're really all after. So this is just one more tool in the toolkit to be able to do that. And when you do that appropriately, you're going to have longer term customers. Your overall customer lifetime value of that customer is going to increase. And again, I find that in general, you're going to have happier people internally and externally that are connected to your company.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, see the way you position that, this is going to be a very important tool in your toolbox. So obviously there are going to be use cases, but again, don't use it. Don't abuse that. Don't send the text message every minute that somebody is going to need a jacket. Nobody needs it. Nobody really does. Even if you have a product that anybody needs every minute, they probably don't need. So don't be aggressive.
Yeah, the last thing I would add to that too, kind of on that same thought, Sam, is just, sometimes I think we can get so tied into what those metrics tell us. And so the case in point, right? Text message. Everybody knows that, the statistics are through the charts in terms of the open rates for text messaging. And, just because the open rates are tremendous does not mean that we need, to that exact point, we do not need to send, 100 different text messages. Make every interaction appropriate for where your potential prospect and or customer is at. And when you do that, again, you build the relationship and you gain trust from your ideal client.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. In fact, I have seen crazy scenarios where you are going to have the incremental KPI for different teams. Some people are going to be really responsible for the open rate. The other people are going to be responsible for qualification. And then you have sort of the overemphasis on opening the email. I get it that you want me to open, but come on. I mean, even if you are going to send me a very spammy message, for example, I get a lot of, marketing message. You have never seen this before. Okay, now, sure, I'm actually going to open that email, but am I going to swipe my credit card? Probably not. So what's the point? So thank you so much for that. Kira, I'm actually going to move to you for your stories. Where it really worked and where it was really overkill. The second one.
Yeah. So for the success, let me bring the Zoho example, not because I implement that, but because that comes from our customers. They ask us and we discover features that we can implement for other customers. Facebook groups. So we know that manufacturers often are active on Facebook, not LinkedIn. So capturing likes and emotions on Facebook posts and not only actual chats and messages was very good for a couple of our clients because you capture intent. Maybe they're shy, maybe they don't, they don't know to use Facebook. But if you have that basic data, at least user of the use for Facebook, captured in your CRM system or your marketing automation system, your team can act on that. They can go check their profile, ask a couple of questions. So you are capturing them earlier. So you're engaging in a meaningful relationship. And the same for the chatbot, for the Zoho Sales IQ chatbot. A very basic one, a simple one. So as mentioned before, the amount of leads and end conversions skyrocket when you just implement the chatbot, even the basic one. You can only grow from zero. So that's a good example of marketing automation anyways. And someone who corresponds in the chatbot, probably he is or they have a better intent to at least communicate with you, if not to buy. So it's also good to keep their information and take action, at least exploring who they are. So those are a couple of good examples, utilizing Facebook groups to capture the intent earlier on and utilizing chatbots. And for downfall examples, I have plenty. So on intent, Sam, you mentioned the open rates. So funny enough, if you see high open rates, you might actually see a lot of unsubscribes. So they opened it and they went to unsubscribe. If your marketing automation doesn't interpret it like that, you might be in trouble. The other example is, and that happens pretty often, we all buy data. We all buy data of our customer segments and we start spamming via email automation. Buying data is good, but you have to buy good quality data. And this is something that can be either very, very expensive or challenging to find the right company. And the last example, the funny one, although most of us, of our customers are not on LinkedIn, but I'm Kira. Hey, Laura. How was your day today? So I started collecting those. If you personalize and automate, at least pay attention.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you have some really interesting examples there. I really like the positive one, to be honest, because you had the real intent as opposed to paying attention to these random KPIs called open rates, even though open rate is important, but I think engagement is far more important than anything else. So if you have tools that are able to measure the emotions, the engagement, obviously that's going to have far deeper signal in terms of the customer's intent. And obviously, anybody can buy data as long as obviously you have money in your pockets. And depending upon what ROI you are getting based on your efforts. But in my experience, if you really want to do quality marketing automation, you still have to do a lot of manual cleansing. And that's where paying attention is really important. It's a lot of work, okay? But if you are serious about getting business, you have to put a lot of work in getting your messaging right, in getting your targeting right. So thank you so much for that. So the next question I'm going to have okay, Steve, go ahead, please.
Since Dave Meyer isn't here, I'll do what he would do right now.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be talking about KPIs and it's connected to this conversation, especially about open rates. For those of you who don't know what's really happening with Apple or haven't heard, they are changing the way that they allow emails to be sent to their devices, right?
Yeah.
What most people don't realize is what Apple is doing is pre-opening the emails. So the conventional wisdom is that this thing is locking down emails a bit and that your open rates are going to go down. But actually, your open rates for iOS devices and which I think starts with iOS 15, and on Macs, which I think starts with Big Sur 11.6, if I remember right. Those will actually go to 100% because they're all going to look like they were opened by Apple before Apple actually presented it to people. Just something to be aware of. And since Dave Meyer is not here, we give him props and say that's what he would be here.
This is going to be so much fun, guys. And guys who are responsible for open rates, they are going to get a lot of commission, which is what I love. But nobody's going to get any sales.
That's why you got to measure what matters. That's the next question, right?
Exactly. Thank you so much. So obviously, my next question is, Steve already pointed out that it's going to be related to KPIs. And obviously, we have KPIs related to e-commerce. But what are going to be the right KPIs that really matter for marketing automation? So one thing that we all agreed that we sort of like open rate, that's relevant, but that's not as relevant. So Chris, in your experience, what are different KPIs that you really found useful to make sure that your marketing campaign is going to work and you are going to get desired outcome from the campaign?
Yeah, I would tell you that we started with click-through rates as a KPI, so people would open, but were they actually clicking on anything? But we quickly moved to lead scoring, where we are scoring leads as they come into our website, and they're taking different actions, and those actions have a value. So if they are downloading information, that value may be higher from a point scale. So a lead score is really scoring a user as they come into your website and having different interactions with your website. If they're touching on different pages, the number of pages might be a point each. But then they download a form or something of information and they give you their details, that has a higher score, maybe 3 points. And as you engage with them and you grow your relationship over time, where you're doing some automated marketing and they're coming back to your website and they're taking different actions, that score helps you with the workflow and different sequences that the rest of your organization may take action on, whether it be another form of automated marketing or truly involving your sales force at some point in time. I think historically, a transaction or a conversion is easy to say. A customer came to our site and they did this thing, and usually in a transaction, you're getting information about them. It's when your customers are engaging with you or your product or your service, your business, but they're not transacting, but they keep returning and they're getting valuable content. What content are they looking at? Being able to segment, and a lot of people touched on these different topics throughout the conversation here, but being able to segment by industry, by title, by the products and information that they're looking for can help you continue to automate what they're going to receive so that you continue to give them the good information that they're looking and they keep returning for. So I think lead scoring is something that we in our own business started utilizing, and now we look at the opportunities within e-commerce to create lead scoring opportunities for the businesses we work with. So it's opened our mind as a company, not only for how we do things and sell our products, but then how can we enable our customers to utilize that as well. So I'll start with lead score.
Yeah, I like lead score a lot. The only thing I would like to add is you are probably not going to get your 100% correlation with your lead score to your closing opportunity, and don't expect that. Don't go hard on yourself. It's a moving target. It's going to take a long time to figure out any correlation. The more data that you have, the more you learn about what your customers really care for. And then one of these days, you are probably going to have that golden score that is really going to work for you magically. Thank you so much for that, Chris. Really appreciate that. Okay, Steve, I'm actually going to move to you, and we might need to move a little quicker here because we are running out of time. KPIs in your experience, which ones are your favorite for marketing automation?
Well, I love that Chris brought up lead scoring because I don't think it's something that people think about. It's not really on the radar for a lot of companies, and it's a really good one. I think I like to look at lifetime value and order frequency. You can also measure the activity loyalty, which is a little bit like lead scoring. But in the end, if you have people coming back more often and buying more things, then you have loyalty. You're measuring that in terms of revenue. So those are two. They're not the only ones, but I think those are the two easiest ones that a manufacturer or somebody new to an industry would have an easy time wrapping their brain around and saying, yeah, okay, I can do that. And they're not likely to lead them astray in terms of investing, say, a ton of money in a company that, like you mentioned earlier, that people can make a lot of money off of open rates because they're charging by that. It's not easy to be misled by those numbers.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. So, Eric, I'm actually going to move to you. Favorite KPIs?
Well, the systems we've implemented mostly, actually, Christina stole my thunder. They do use lead scoring for sure. Some of the factors there are if the prospect comes back and looks at a particular page or section of a website, then if they fill out a contact form, this is another huge one. If they follow up on a proposal or some sort of pricing aspect of it. And then, of course, if they have a one-on-one meeting with a sales rep or a phone call or a Zoom meeting or something like that, I mean, that's huge. That's like, well, basically they're pretty much sold at that point. So each one of these events and many other events contribute to this sales funnel. And there's a couple different systems we've used that have this concept. But other KPIs, if you're talking about more garden variety B2C sites, it would be, well, the simple one is, well, okay, we've sent out so many abandoned cart emails, and those emails that we sent out to those customers, X percentage are new customers we never would have had an order, and they converted. They bought something. Well, that's a pretty huge, important metric. There's other metrics too, which the marketing folks dream up. So
okay, amazing, love it. Thank you so much, Eric, for that. Dave, quick favorite KPIs.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with what everybody else said. The only thing I would add to the lead scoring part is predefining what your milestones look like for your customer journey, and people have touched on that. But what I really mean is it a milestone for somebody to fill out a particular form, to visit a particular page, click on a particular link, and have those predefined, so at that point you can insert a different part of your sales process to continue the journey. So
okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Dave, for that. Kira, I'm actually going to move to you. Your favorite KPIs?
There are debates about the fact that lead scoring is actually dead. And it doesn't mean anything, because if I'm working with the power equipment parts e-commerce seller and I'm looking for industry information on the size of the industry, and I go to all the report providers to ask for sample report, and then they bombard me and spend time and money on reaching out to me, and I'm not even from the industry, whether lead scoring is still good, I don't know. So that's a word of caution. Measure what matters. If you are doing branding, measure how many emails actually arrived and not dropped off. Measure how many people saw your message. If you are measuring interest, measure downloads, how many of them downloaded your white paper. If you are measuring conversion, yes, measure how many of them actually bought, and ask them how they found you. And you will find that your attribution on your marketing automation tool tells you they found you through email, and then they will tell you, a friend told me. So there is a discrepancy there. What you have to have is Google Analytics. That's an amazing free tool. You can set it up for measuring e-commerce conversions. That's pretty accurate. Google Analytics is a must-have tool.
Okay, amazing. Love it. The only thing I would add to that conversation is going to be, when we think of the lead scoring, I don't think the industry lead scoring, those algorithms are going to be really relevant. But if you have decent, machine learning tool that can analyze your own opportunity, your own close rate, your own customer base and target base and market signals, and then somehow figure out the lead scoring, that's probably going to be slightly relevant. But even for that, it might take a long time unless you have years worth of data to feed this machine learning algorithm to be able to predict what you are really looking for. So on that note, we are going to take quick closing advice from everybody. Maybe a sentence. Chris, what is going to be your quick closing advice as it relates to marketing automation?
It's going to be around data, like I love to talk about in every episode, which is, good sales and marketing teams align around the data that they get as outcomes from their marketing automation. But to be able to evaluate good data, you have to get started with some of these marketing automation initiatives. And there was a ton of great content from the panel here. So lots of good ideas to get started.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. Steve, what would be your closing advice?
I'm going to say what I just posted into the chat, which is there are a lot of CMSs like WordPress, WooCommerce, Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce. They all have some tool that you can plug in for very little money that can start you on your automation journey. So it does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be difficult, but you do not have a choice.
Yeah, again, I think the trick is not really the tool. The trick is going to be in finding a real target market and also your messaging. That's where the real art is. So first figure that out. Technology is going to be the easy path. Eric, I'm actually going to move to you for your closing advice.
Okay. Yeah, competition is fierce. So if you want to stay in business, you need to have these systems. But they don't have to be really daunting, as Steve mentioned. There are simple ways to get started and not complex. You don't have to have some grandiose plan for dealing with every single edge case about all these crazy things. You just need to get started. And as you start to do this, that will inform what you want to do later. So that's my word.
And do not send anybody a text message every 30 seconds. Nobody needs anything every 30 seconds. Okay. No. Thank you so much. Dave, what is your closing advice?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I would say if you are new to this journey and just starting out, I would say start with a minimum of 3 different points along your customer journey and talk with your team to identify processes that they are doing within that to be able to automate through this marketing automation. If you are further down the path and you are already doing some of this, I would just ramp up those touch points, making sure that, again, you understand where your ideal client or customer is at in that part of the process and look for tools, because to your point, the tool really doesn't matter. It is more about defining exactly what touch point you want to have and how the process is going to be automated with the tool. So that'd be my closing advice.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. Kira, what is going to be your closing advice?
I would say don't expect marketing automation. Do the work for you. Sales and marketing need to sit together to, as Dave said, define what works. And if face-to-face events still work for you better than marketing automation, do that.
Okay, amazing. Love it. On that note, thank you so much, everybody, for your time and insight.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Eric Landman, head over to earthlinginteractive.com. It's EARTHLINGINTERACTIVE.com. If you want to learn more about Steve Rice, head over to .comjungle.com. It's DOTCOMJUNGLE.com. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. It's THECRYSLER.CLUB. If you want to learn more about Kira Cheknikovsky, head over to customerization.ca. It's CUSTOMERIZATION.ca. If you want to learn more about Christina Harrington, head over to genalpha.com. It's GENALPHA.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Jeff White, who discusses why it is so important to identify the ideal customer profile for your offerings to streamline your growth. Also, the interview with Dave Meyer from Busy Web, who describes how marketing automation works and why that is important to understand customer journeys. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.